Hey ladies, it's your girl Truly Inspired Martin, and you're not here by chance. Nah, baby, this is on purpose because what we do here is equip and empower you to become the woman that you desire and deserve. You are here because you are ready to restore, reset, and reclaim your life and increase your emotional intelligence. That won't happen everywhere, but here we make shit happen. So let's get it. Hey ladies, it's your girl Truly Inspired Martin, and baby, we are back and better than ever every Thursday, 7 a.m. Catch us on every podcast platform. And I know you've been out here working on you. I see you, girl, doing what you do. But guess what? The journey continues. So if you are truly ready to go from BS to success, welcome back to the Recrown You podcast. Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. Girl, it's time to be real, raw, and relentless. Everybody wants to be, but nobody wants to do. You know it's time. What's up, ladies? It's your girl, Truly Inspired Martin, and welcome back to another episode of the Recrown You podcast. I hope that your week has been amazing. I hope that you getting it how you live and you loving life in the process. You done stumbled up on us because you are ready to be empowered and you want to be equipped with the knowledge, the tools, the things that can help you put that crown back on, realign that posture, like really get yourself right. And here, baby, we talk all things emotional intelligence in one way or another. So we're going to give you what you need, but doing the work is on you, right? So our motto here is everybody wants to be, but not everybody wants to do, right? So everybody wants to be this, they want to be that, they want to own this amazing part of their life. But what about the other parts that you don't want to own, right? What about that journey that you've gone through? What does doing the work look like? What does doing what it takes to become look like? And I think those moments where we tap in over here on the Recrown You podcast. We tap in, we make you think, we make you really dive deep into the core of you, the things that you might not you might not want to even deal with, low key, right? So here we gonna make you dive a little bit deeper and really push yourself for more. Cause here we're all about the more, right? But yeah, let's get into this. What is something in your life that you are realizing triggers you? Now, you know, them triggers can get real wild, right? Like those things that just really just set you off, and you are constantly trying to remember, why is it that this bothers me so much, right? Like, why am I hurt by this? Why does this make me feel, right? And for those of you that are like, okay, I've heard this word trigger before, but what exactly does it mean, sis, right? So a trigger is a cause, right? An event or a situation to happen or exist, right? So something happens to cause a strong emotional reaction of fear, shock, anger, or worry in someone, especially because they are made to remember something bad that has happened in the past, right? So those things can stimulate some kind of reaction out of you. And those triggers can really show up in different parts of your life. And it can sometimes come up and really set you off, or it can kind of just make you feel uneasy, or it might send you back, right? And sending you back in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. And we talk about healing in so many different ways, right? And understanding that healing starts with knowing what the source of the pain is really a stepping stone towards you understanding what those triggers look like and why do you have them, right? So, as we are in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, it is important for us to not only tap into just what is going on under the umbrella of domestic violence, right? Because those things also can stem from triggers. If you kind of take a look back, everybody's situation and stories are different. But for me, per se, there are things that trigger me from past relationships, right? And it could be as little as the way you say something to me, right? Or the way you make me feel about something, or something that you might bring up that just kind of just, damn, I remember that person used to say that to me. And, they made me feel bad about myself or whatever. But recognizing what that looks like and how your EQ is tied into that. So when you're talking about recognizing those triggers, right? You have to know and recognize and be able to manage what your emotions feel like when it's tied to that, right? And sometimes them triggers will come in, baby, and they will cloud your rational judgment. Like that rationale, that goes straight the hell out the window. You like, I ain't rational. I ain't thinking about no common sense, nothing. Common sense ain't common right now. Like, I'm lit up. I'm mad. I'm trying to deal with whatever this is, and I don't know what to do with it right now. So it is what it is, right? But understanding what those triggers look like, right, is a real big part of the equation when it comes to really being able to move forward on your journey. So let's take this into perspective, right? Paper and pen, or take this journey with me in your mind, whatever you can do right now, right? To see what those things look like. So in internal triggers, we have internal triggers, we have external triggers, and we have what's called sensory triggers, right? Those are those things that you touch, you feel. They hit on a deeper level, right? They hit on a deeper level. And y'all gotta excuse me because my voice been going out and in for like the past couple weeks. So bear with you, girl. Right? But let's start off with those internal triggers. Those are feelings that people have before or during an episode, right? Those are things that, for instance, some people may feel insecure about sex and think that they have to drink alcohol in order to relax before having sex. That's an example that I read somewhere, right? And I thought about that and I'm like, wow, if you could figure out what tied that together, it would make more sense, right? So if you're feeling like the only way I can get busy in the bed is if I'm turned up, there is a reason for that. Something in your past made you feel like that's the only way that you can engage in sexual intercourse, right? Whether it's drugs or alcohol or, the a certain you might only want to do it in the dark because you remember that last relationship where the guy told you that you look better in the dark, or I don't really want to see your body, or whatever that is. And now that has stuck to you and has become an internal trigger for you. So now you are constantly trying to aid and abet those things in your spirit to make sure that you have your superpower, your super drug, whatever that is, right? In order to perform that act. I hope this is making sense, right? So then you got external triggers. Those can be people, those can be places and things, right? Those are people, places, and things. And if you think about some of those external triggers, it might be a place where you bought something, you did something with someone, you went on vacation to St. Thomas that one time with somebody, and it went really bad, and they might have put their hands on you or whatever the case may be, and now Anytime you think about St. Thomas or anytime you try to go back there, those triggers happen because this place is tied to a bad memory, right? Same thing with people. You might no longer want to hang around a certain group of people that were associated with those other people that caused trauma or drama in your life, right? And things that can be drugs, that can be clothes that you have from a past relationship, that can be uh, a certain type of food that you only used to eat with your best friend, and now you're no longer friends, and it's hard to eat that thing anymore because it triggers you, right? And then lastly, we have sensory triggers. Those sensory triggers are normally related to sensories, right? The sight, the sound, the taste, the touch, right? And they might include so many different things. Like, oh, you know this one. I know y'all know this one real well. When you hear that one song, right? Like for instance, like Usher and Alicia Keys, My Boo. You hear that song and ooh, you got a sensory trigger. Because damn, that was the song from my high school sweetheart. And we used to bump that when we was riding down 85, or we was riding down McCarter Highway. Like I'm all over the country right now, right? We was riding down in the drop top BMW, the hoop ride, the 96 hoop ride, right? Like you're remembering all these things and it's tying up a memory to that song because you can remember and you can place yourself where that was, or it was the taste of, you ever tasted something? I go through this a lot. Like you ever tasted something and you're like, damn, this reminds me of something from my childhood, or this reminds me of that time when I was at the fair and I was in 12th grade and me and all my girls went here or whatever, and then we got into that big ass fight with old girl and old boy, and now I remember because that triggered me, and now I have trust issues with going out with a group of friends because that caused a lot of pain in my life. Whatever it is, right? The sound of that music, the taste of certain foods, touching, like you might feel certain textures of wool or cotton and it brings back a certain memory. That touch, or seeing certain things, the sight of how the sun comes up in the morning, right? That might remind you of when you and your parents used to go for walks early in the mornings, down by the riverside, over in the country somewhere. Like whatever it is, it ties up a trigger and a memory that's attached to it. And there are many triggers in so many different parts of our life. But once you have identified your triggers, there are tools that you can use, some tools like, talking to someone or really understanding what self help looks like. Um, whether those are, self help programs or self guided programs or books, or, making sure that you find a counselor or someone to talk to. Like those thoughts on record really matter to how you move forward. And I think that it's important to know what those triggers are because I've always said that things happen in cycles, right? So if things are happening in cycles, that means that so many things that you've endured or encountered at some point or another in your life tend to show up again in a different format, right? It shows up in a different form. Like it's going to show itself again. And how you handled it last time cannot be the exact duplicate of how you handle it this time unless that was perfection. And chances are you didn't always get it right the first time. So I think that it's important for us to really be able to understand what our triggers look like. But you know what's actually kind of mind blowing? Those triggers that we have sometimes lead to us now instilling boundaries in our lives. And sometimes those boundaries can be really hard to tell to other people. And I think that it's important, and you should think it's important, to set boundaries. And those boundaries can help you to really instill a strong fortress in your relationships with friends, with significant others, with family members, whatever that looks like, right? So, a good way to kind of intro that conversation on boundaries and those triggers, like really understanding those triggers, is could come up with a couple statements that you could use with people when you're trying to really tell someone that they triggered you, right? Or tell someone that, these are boundaries that I would like to set now on, and I would really appreciate if you would respect them. So, you can always say stuff like, what's something I've said before? Maybe something along the lines of, I'm really upset right now, and I'm going to say something I'll regret. But I think it's important for us to have this conversation. When you do blank, sometimes it makes me feel like blank. I really appreciate our connection, our relationship, our whatever it is, right? And I would really love for you to understand where I'm coming from. And I really wish that you would no longer do X, Y, or Z. And by you respecting that, I can be open to whatever boundaries you have in place as well, right? It's mad different ways to have these conversations, right? But I mean, that's one of the things that I've said before. Or I'll say something like, hey girl, I had a really rough day today, and for some reason, I'm feeling so triggered by your use of the word blankety blank. Very important on how you say this, right? Because you want to make sure that you're doing this in good faith with a good tone, and you want it to bring you closer, not further away. You don't want the person to be all on the defense, like oh shoot, now they triggered. Right? So just kind of make sure you're introing those conversations with a good tone, pure heart, all of that good stuff. Another thing I think I've said is just allowing people to give me time to be, right? So I'll say something like, I'm going through something right now. I don't want to say anything that I'll regret. So I just need X amount of minutes to cool off, or an hour or a day to cool off and think about this. Something along those lines. But understanding your triggers are important because you're becoming self-aware of what makes you tick, what makes you angry, what hurts you, right? What are those things that put up those red flags and make you kind of retreat into self? If you can understand that about yourself, then you'll have more clarity on how to explain that to others. And when you can explain that to others, then now they understand what the boundaries are, and they understand why the boundaries exist, right? And that can lead to open communication and understanding amongst each other. So I hope that that's understood, and I hope that you can really take that to see, like, okay, maybe there are some little things that are triggering me. Maybe there are some moments that I might have acted outside myself, or, really overreacted in that moment because I did not know how to really deal with the fact that I was triggered. And I didn't know how to explain this or have this conversation with the person in whom triggered me, or the place that I was in that triggered me, or the sights, the sounds, whatever those are that triggered me, right? And it's really important to understand and take full accountability and awareness of self, so that you can better understand what and why the things that happen around you or with you happen. Like, everything happened for a reason. Like, they say that all the time, but that's for real. That is so for real. So you need to start practicing what this looks like for you, understanding those triggers, right? Journal it down. Like, you start to take like a call it like a trigger notebook, right? And just start writing down, like, oh shoot, today I was at Starbucks and I was in line, and this person jumped in front of me right when I was pulling in as the next person in the Starbucks line, and they just jumped right in front of me and did not apologize for anything, and just jumped in like I was so triggered. Because I remember how all the bullies back in the day in school used to just always cut me in line and made me feel small and told me that I wasn't shit. And now I really take that to heart. I'm triggered when people think that they can just take advantage of me and take my kindness for weakness and just jump in front of me. It's a trigger. You see how something so many years ago, or something that is so deeply rooted in something that has absolutely nothing to do with the current moment, can still be triggering because you're not dealing with what that is. A lot of things that influence your now decisions are part of the things that have happened before this day ever came to pass. So be able to stand in what that looks like for you, right? Really being able to balance those emotions and know when it's your emotions taking over, like you're triggered about something, versus what the logic is in that moment. What is making the most sense right now? Why do I feel the way that I feel? Very important to really tap into that. So, I hope that this meets you where you are right now. I don't know what season this is for you, right? But I do know that we are in Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and things can start to show up in ways that you did not imagine and did not think it could or would, because you're over that thing. You're past that thing. You're good and ready to move on with life until something triggers you because it took a different shape or form, and you did not believe that it would ever bother you again, but you never took the time to take the journey to figure out exactly what that trigger is. And I'm daring you, I'm challenging you to get that trigger notebook out and take inventory of what those things look like for you, so that you can counteract every trigger with a way to win and boundaries that you can put in place. And so you can have those tough conversations and be able to have open lines of communication with those around you. So I hope this did what it was supposed to do, because you know who you are. But in order for you to really show up as that person that you see in your mind deeply embedded, you have to be willing to take the journey. You have to be willing to do in order to be. And that starts with you understanding what that looks like for you. So get trigger happy, baby. Know what's up and know what's down. But just know that you have the power in your hands to navigate this journey of life the way you see fit. So, can't wait to see y'all on the next episodes. We got stuff loading up for you, and I know that you're ready. I know that you're waiting. I know that you're doing the damn thing, because you wouldn't be here listening to me on the Recrown You podcast unless you were ready to recrown you. So, in the meantime, in between time, I'm going to catch y'all next time. It's your girl. You know it's time.